Hello and welcome back to ZeldaSpeedRuns, everyone. We've got a little bit of a night shift coverage for you all, a little bit of an evening race where we've got our coverage of the A Link to the Past No Major Glitches tournament. In Group D, we've got FoxLisk versus TMB, sorry. And should be a pretty awesome race. On commentary today, we've got Blue and Satan Spawn. How are you two doing?
Doing fine,
Doing great.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for this race.
You apologize about the
definitely happy to be here.
You apologize about the miscrop here. It looks like the framework hasn't saved the cropping there, but should be good to go to kick off the race.
$15. That must be his seed, huh?
Oh, file names, yeah. So the tournament has I think the runners select the file names for each other. That's how it works.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yep. I don't know much about the community, but just to get this started, what do you two think? Do you know anything about the runners? Do you think you know how far they can go and all of that?
Ooh, yeah, I mean, Dao is he's one of the top runners. He's number 8 in the category, and Fox is 26, so it'll definitely be a good race. And oh, looks like they're off. Let's go.
Yeah, my favorite part of the run, mashing text while Link wakes up.
How's it going tonight, chat? Oh, sorry, go on, Blue.
No, they used to actually time this category when Link got out of bed a long time ago, which seems like it'd be nice because it's like 27 seconds of just mashing that you could kind of not have to go as hard on.
I definitely mashed the buttons to death there, so...
Yeah, and I mean, you'll see a lot of players at this level like ruin controllers or be searching for controllers or stuff like that from the mashing and pumping. So what a lot of the players are doing here is pumping when Link goes left or up. They're going to be mashing to try and get inputs to get him to move 2 pixels instead of 1 pixel, because Link averages 1.5 pixels per frame by alternating.
Yeah, as I was doing some investigating on our players tonight, I didn't realize Dao is playing from a SNES Classic. So when he needs a new controller, he can legitimately just get a new one pretty easily, which must be nice.
Yeah, I think he's the top player on SNES Classic, and you and I both play on SNES Classic, so it's good to see that it can be taken down that far on SNES Classic. My understanding is it's slightly slower, but pretty negligibly.
Yeah, I hear it's only like, I think 6 seconds slower over the entire race, or over the entire run, but...
That's a lot when you're a 124.01 though, like Dao is.
Exactly. I feel like I normally see when players get a little bit better, they want to switch over to console, so... Cool, he's representing the SNES Classic.
So we're probably going to see them be pretty even here throughout Escape. Dao's gold is a little bit better, so maybe we'll see him pull a couple seconds ahead, but they should be, pretty close throughout this split here.
Yeah, definitely. There might be a couple seconds in variance with the key rat room, but every other room is pretty straightforward, so...
Oh, and Fox gets hit by the guard.
Wow, you do not see that every day.
Yeah, maybe it's just a little race nerves, because that's pretty uncommon.
Yep, normally you just throw your boomerang right at him, but... Yeah, that's definitely some race nerves coming out.
And I think, at this point, the number of runs that these players have done, they've probably messed up just about everything everywhere in the game. That's part of learning it and getting this good at it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so that actually allows Dao to pull ahead a little bit here. But the nice thing about Link to the Past is even though their PBs are actually, you know, not super close, like we got about 50 seconds apart here, but 56 seconds, but anything could happen in this race. These two are close enough and good enough that like we could have a wild time coming up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Last time I saw Fox race, he may have forgotten to get the lamp and didn't realize until the throne room, and it set him back 2 minutes, and he still managed to win against Moogle Mod, and they had very similar PBs. You know, very happy to see him get that lamp this time. His heart probably exploded when he got to the throne and couldn't push it.
That is the worst feeling.
You know, it's happened to everybody. It really has, but you just don't want it to happen during
during a race. Yeah, that's
during
the
a
worst
race.
time
No.
for it to happen.
It's like, of course, there's going to be mistakes, but you hope that it's not in that it's not an escape. I mean,
Well, I mean, when you're not in a race, it's nice to mess up an escape because you don't feel too bad about resetting.
oh yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of escape, besides just having really clean movement, clean doorways, and that kind of thing, is just reacting to some of the RNG you get, especially in the sewers here. So we'll see, you know, kind of a decent key rat for Dao. He didn't get the bad one, but it looks like, yeah, Fox is all the way up in Seattle up there.
Fox got that Seattle rat. That's the worst RNG, and he might have had a little bit of trouble grabbing it with the boomerang. Again, I feel like that's some race nerves coming out, but hopefully he can settle into Eastern.
And Fox in the chat here joking, you know, 558 runs over, which, you know, anything could happen still. It's just kind of a funny meme there.
I'm expecting both of them to get Sankart, but
yeah, in a
see.
race, I would think so, but let's see what happens here. Well, Dow's getting it.
There it goes. I feel like Fox normally always gets it, so.
Yeah, it cost a few seconds, but you know that one extra heart throughout the course of the run can just really save your life. I know it's saved mine. I've definitely finished Ganon with only one heart left, so
Oh yeah.
it's not bad to have in a race at all.
Yeah, especially players on this level that don't pick up safeties. That one extra heart is pretty important.
And we're just about to Eastern Palace here. This is what I think is the worst guard in Hyrule right there. You can just walk right in front of his nose and he does nothing.
Yeah, pretty lazy.
But even with all of that, we're still just, you know, about one screen apart here, which isn't that much at all. Anything could still happen. And so in this room that Dow's in now, there's supposed to be 4 Staffos that come out, but by killing them before they spawn, you can get away with only 2 and get through that room just a little bit faster, which is nice. And they'll both do that successfully. So one of the big things that they'll probably be looking for is to try and get that red rupee when it drops. And watching both of them at once, I kind of lost track of where we're at on the prize pack here. But a lot of the first common enemies that you see are going to drop a blue rupee, a green rupee, a blue rupee, and then the red rupee. And so as you're kind of going through Eastern Palace, they're going to be looking out for that and trying to kind of manipulate where it spawns, because there's some better spots and worse spots for it to spawn. Because it's just a nice thing to get when you're doing the tree rupees, which I would expect they both are, but we'll find out for sure after this dungeon here.
It's damage boost room from both of them.
And we're coming up onto the Zelda gamer room here on Dao's side. Oh, he gets hit by the cannonballs, though. That's a little rough. And this is one of the really heavy RNG rooms early in the run that there's just a lot of different things you can respond to. It looks super simple, especially, I'm sure they've practiced a lot. And then he gets the red rupee, which is real nice there.
The Zelda gamer room, that's one of the rooms that, if you've never seen the speedrun before, it may look very simple, but there's a lot going through the runner's head. Reading multiple RNGs, timing arrows, bots, kind of a lot going on. Nice, good boss fight from both of them. Yeah, they're still just a couple seconds apart, so
Yeah, I think...
good start. Let's go.
Yeah, did Fox catch up a little bit in that split?
Let's see.
Still about the same distance. They're about 7 seconds apart. So then they'll get the dash boots from, the man whose name that no one can pronounce, Sahashul, something like that, right? And this is kind of the first part where it feels like the game really starts, because there's a lot less pumping and a lot more dashing. And we're going to see spin speed from Dao here. So that is a minor glitch, since no major glitches are allowed, that allows you to go in all directions in the dash state, where Link moves 4 pixels per frame, instead of having to charge up the dash for about half a second, and then also do it for every direction that you want to change to. So it can really save some times in a few key parts of the run.
Yeah, that's one of the cooler things we do in the speedrun. It is a frame perfect trick though, so it can be easy to miss. And then of course you're wasting time if you miss it. Let's see. Another good spin speed.
And so they'll go to get the Book of Medora here, which is needed to open Desert Palace, and then run their way back to Desert Palace. The fastest thing to do would be to save and quit, but save and quit actually isn't allowed in this category. Which I think is something that harkens back to the original Twin Galaxies days, like way back in 2003 when the speedrun was kind of officiated there on that leaderboard. It actually had to be deathless, so at the end of the game when the credits roll, you had to have 0 game overs. It doesn't matter if you did it faster or not. And so save and quit actually registers as a games played. So that counts as not deathless. And I think that has to do with why the category kind of evolved to not allow save and quit, because other no major glitch categories like Master Sword, it is actually allowed.
Fox maneuvered around those enemies gracefully. That was a good recovery. Deathless, pretty brutal for a category that's an hour and a half.
Yeah, definitely. And certainly there are parts of this run where it is very dangerous, very fast. Cold Stare, Total Rock, that we'll see later. But at that time, it was actually really common for people to get the blue mail because we didn't know about some of the skips in Ice Palace.
Alright, we just entered a desert. You know, I really like this dungeon. It has the least amount of screens out of all the dungeons.
And Desert Palace has a lot of these long screens that are really meant to showcase the boots. So, you know, we'll see Dao come up on the cannonball room here, which is just a nice long room, these long hallways at the top. A lot of long rooms that are just really easy to dash through.
Epic Fox got that awesome cannonball RNG and ended it with a bonk. Classic.
I think we've all done that.
So excited about the good RNG that you bonk. It only wastes a second. Really not a big deal. It just kind of hurts
Yeah.
inside.
No 1 second or 10 frames here is necessarily a big deal, but they sure do add up.
Oh yeah, the bonks can add up. If you're doing it all over the speedrun like I like to do. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the frames that you save across every screen in the game, which there's 500 of. You know, that can really add up, where that's why some of these top players can die and we can still see them, you know, at a 126 or lower if even things go kind of wrong in one or two places.
I mean, I feel like things always go wrong at some point for even the best speedruns of this game that have ever happened. There's just too much RNG for everything to go right.
There's always a couple of little minor things too, and I just watched Dao's PB earlier today, and it's like, you know, when you get a 2401, you probably get that and really wish that it was you know, a 2359, and there's, you know, all these things that you can think of. And actually, as he finished it, he was talking about in Eastern Palace, the 2 red Igors. He actually goofed up that room and had to 2-cycle the right red Igor, and like, that's the difference. Like 500 rooms and just trying to do them all without losing very much time.
Only 500 rooms, you know.
And so they're at Landmo, one of the toughest bosses to do fast in the game.
Looks like Dao got a nice little 3-cycle. I don't know about you guys, but I honestly love this boss. This is one of the most hated boss fights in the whole game. I think it's a good time, though.
I think I like practicing Aga 2 more, personally, but yeah, this is it's a place that you see a lot of people practicing and dumping hours on stream and stuff, and you can just kind of get sunk into doing it over and over and over. And the practice ROM has the nice counters, so you can just see what you got without thinking too much as you do, I don't know, 100 of them in a row. Who would do that?
Idiots. Crazy people. Kappa. Yeah, Fox actually won our 100 land molar race a couple weeks ago. GG's on that. And he was also the first to get a 2-cycle.
So we'll see them do another minor glitch here. Dao's already done it, but Fox is doing fake flippers right now. So he hasn't bought the flippers yet because that takes a lot of time and a lot of money, which is actually a big thing that's hard to get this early in the run. So by jumping into the water and immediately screen transitioning the next frame, you can trick the game. You just can't get hit, because if you get hit, then you soft lock.
Yeah, you don't really want to run kill in the beginning of the game. But they both did it well. I feel like that's probably a part of the run that's super nerve-wracking in a race. You know, we don't do a lot of races. We just, most of us, just kind of grind speed runs. So, you know, if you soft lock, you can just reset it, but obviously can't reset a race. So, happy to say they both executed it well.
And they probably execute it well 99.9% of the time. I think no matter how good you are, you can mess up something weird all of a sudden randomly, but this is probably not one of those things that happens a lot for them. So entering Tower of Hera. And I think, I don't think we'll see any of them pull out the boomerang in the basement here. They're both going to use the mirror and lamp only, I think.
We had 2 good Death Mountains. Horrible things can happen on Death Mountain, so happy to see they were both not traumatizing like it can be.
Yeah, it's and it's one of the places in the run that is actually pretty hard to control. I mean, you know, even if you get really good at reacting to stuff and learn RNGs, there's just stuff that can happen still. It happens less when you get better, but you're still possibly going to take damage. And so right now they're poke dashing to hold Link's sword spin. So you'll see them kind of do a half dash every time one of these things hits, so it leaves his sword out. And then Dao will hit that last one with the pot, so he's closer to the door.
This is the room that I like to chug Red Bull during. Looking forward to seeing all the different strategies that they use. We're seeing where they differ.
I don't think we've seen any chest turns yet, have we?
I don't think so. All right, Dad's coming up to the Moon Pearl bomb jump.
And that arrow drop for Fox, he has to leave it behind. It's too slow to get where it landed with that beetle.
Looks like Dow's going in with 3 hearts. Moldorm, that's pretty cozy.
Yeah, I think it should be pretty cozy for him, but we'll see. They call him Troll Dorm sometimes for a reason, because things can happen. We'll see Fox use that menu buffer to set up the bumper skip, which I haven't seen a lot of players do that, but I really like just being able to kind of check your pixel and think about it for a second and switch to bow there.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh, and Moldorm is trolling him a little bit, kind of blocking him from jumping into the arena. So that, you know, that probably loses a second or two. Waiting for him to get out of the way.
I'm totally going to steal that menu buffer idea, honestly. I was going into this knowing that I was going to learn a lot about the speedrun, just watching these top players. Oh, Fox.
Ooh, and that close to the edge for Fox, but
no.
Turns out okay.
Clutched it out with half of a heart. Let's go. Moldorm, I swear to God. Honestly, that's probably the scariest part of the speedrun for me when I'm running this.
Hera can go really wrong really fast. You know, one false move and you've lost 30 seconds or something. It's one of the most punishing places to make a mistake, especially in the light world, which we're almost done with here. We're just going to do the Agate Tower split here right after they get the Master Sword.
Yeah, especially when you have a really good escape Eastern and Desert. Sometimes Hera throws you off of, throws you into the pit of Moldorm. It could happen.
And you'll see both the runners pull the trees for rupees here. First, before the Master Sword, they're pulling the 5s out of the first tree when they jump off the Death Mountain. And that's actually something that ACMLM kind of discovered back in 2014, or kind of like strategized around, and the community helped develop, because they used to just all go into the back of Sahasra's hut and get the 100 rupees back there. But this saves about 6 seconds is my understanding. And it's pretty slick. You just have to be careful. And so you pull the first tree with the blues, and that allows you to set up the second tree by killing 4 enemies without getting hit after that. You can then get 4 red rupees from this tree, which is real slick and real fast.
Looks like that was a nice lead of about 35 seconds coming out of Hera. But we do have Aghanim coming up in a couple minutes here, so that could change.
And Dao is actually ahead of his PB a little bit right now. I don't think people are seeing that on Zelda speedruns, but he's about a little under 6 seconds ahead, which, you know, that's not a ton, but it's also at this level kind of a ton.
Yeah, this is the point where you just hope you have good blue ball RNG when you've got a little pace going into Aghanim. So oh yeah, I believe Tanvir did get a nice PB during one of his tournament races, I think yesterday. GG's to Tanvir with a 131.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
That is insanely hype.
You love to see that. You love to see close races and PBs, right? And I think Aga Tower is, it's not the most dangerous split, but it's like a sneaky place where you can lose a lot of time. Oh, and then, yep. Fox does not get the normal fairy skip, but comes back to dash kill that guard, which is pretty important. What they're doing is manipulating the prize pack. They do not want those guards to drop any items, which by dashing and killing them, they won't drop any items. And that allows them to then set up getting a fairy in Turtle Rock later, which Turtle Rock is very brutal, and there's some places where you intentionally take damage to go faster. So having that fairy is pretty clutch. There's also a couple rooms that are a little bit faster by keeping sword beams too. So it's really nice to not get that fairy there, or the heart. The fairy's actually the second one in the prize pack.
Or it's just like strat after strat after strat. Honestly, you have to be pretty alert. Looks like Dao executed both of his spear guards room flawlessly. Good circle of pots room. And on his way to Aghanim.
Yeah, and we'll see how Aghanim treats the runners tonight. I'm sure most people know, but he has a cycle of 5 attacks. The first one is a guaranteed hit. The 5th one is lightning. And the 3 in between are a 50-50 chance of a hit, or not a hit, a blue ball. And each blue ball wastes approximately 6 seconds. I mean, there's some variance based on how far around he warps and stuff too. And then every extra cycle of lightning you get also wastes even more time.
There we go. Looks like he maintained his pace. Saved a little less than half of a second. Oh, the first blue ball of the race.
So far being nice, just sticking at 1. You know, you like to see that when someone is on a PB pace. Hopefully, he'll be equally nice to both people. Oh, there's another one. I believe his PB is 0. I think he's normally running against 0, so that third one now is probably not good news for the PB, but might be okay for us having an exciting race tonight.
Yeah, 3 is the most common. Hopefully it stops there. The Wizard of Odds, guys. Anything could happen. Alright. There
So
we
I
go.
think
He's
that was
got
just 3. Yeah. All right.
And does Fox just have 1 so far?
I think
That's
so.
what I saw. Mhm.
I'm sure chat will tell us. Well, there's another one. That might be 2. And we're about to enter the dark world here, and that's where the run really begins. So 2 to 3, that's pretty close. I don't think, most races aren't going to be decided by this specific particular RNG in the run anyway, but probably only separating them by, 6 to 12 seconds in terms of how much that changed things for them.
Yeah, so nice little boost for Fox.
That does really hurt the PB possibility for Dow. He's now 20 seconds behind about.
You
But
love getting 0 blue balls, but when you have to run against it,
Yeah, nobody
not awesome.
nobody loves to run against that. So
it's there's a 1 in 16 chance of getting 0, so it's, pretty unlikely.
yeah, I've heard that. The dark world to me is where the run really starts to get fun. So we got those rupees earlier so we could pay Kiki the monkey. He, I don't know exactly what kind of scam he's running or what he does with the money in the dark world. Like, where do you spend your rupees in the dark world if you're a monkey? But he first asks you for 10 just to follow him, and then another 100 to open Palace of Darkness for you. Palace of Darkness is a really hard split, though. It has huge. I mean, this palace overworld is huge. It's one of the longer overworlds in the game. With like Lost Woods and Zora's Domain. That's a lot of turning and twisting, and you can easily lose a couple seconds there just with not dashing properly or in the right spot or redashing or things like that. And then you also have a bomb jump coming up. You have a pretty RNG heavy boss as well. So it's, when I was first starting to run the game, this was the thing where it was like, is this going to be a run or not? That's pod in a nutshell in my mind.
Oh yeah, especially as a noob when you move your bottles over to later in the game. A lot of ripped runs to Helmosaur.
But so far, things are looking pretty clean in this split for both of them.
Coming up on hammer jump. Let's see how he does.
At this level, you're just hoping for like no extra menu buffers, basically. He nails the first pixel. Couple extra buffers here. That's 3, 4. Dow lost a little bit of time there compared to probably what he's used to. And let's see how Fox does with the hammer jump.
Ooh, Fox again, scaring me.
Yeah, 3 extra buffers though, so that probably worked out about even for both of them.
He got on that pixel just right before he needed to. Oh.
All that matters is that you make it. I think having close calls is just makes it more exciting for all of us. As long as you get it, right?
Yeah, and for him.
And so everyone has full hearts coming into the basement here, which helps out a little bit by saving a couple menus. You can just switch to hammer and stay on hammer and use sword beams to flick the switch down in this first basement room. Oh, and Fox misses a mimic. End is out of arrows going into this room.
Oh.
Doesn't realize it. Ooh.
Oh no.
Then loses the beam. So this is now getting a little rough for Fox here.
Yep, management's really important. There's just a lot going on in this speed run, but you have to pay attention to your inventory. And luckily, there was arrows in the room right underneath him, so.
Yeah, they're close, but you never want to have to go back to get them. You never have to want to have to get them anyway. It's nice when you just have enough that you don't have to pick up any extra, or you get really lucky and the top mimic drops them right in your path.
Yeah, and losing beams is also, you have to do a couple extra menus, so. Not a big deal, though.
Yeah, I mean, Helma just being a dangerous boss, every heart that you lose makes it a little bit scarier. Fox going to do spin speed Helma here. So he'll get into that same glitch state, which actually kind of gives the hammer the sword's hitbox when it's in the dash position, which makes it a little easier to hit him without getting hit back. And he takes no damage there, no problem with Helmasaur.
Yeah, really good Helmasaur. Yeah, losing a heart before going into a boss fight can mean you can take one less hit from the boss, but not a problem for Fox in this case.
So Dao is now entering the Thieves Town split with this nice big overworld. Just always fun screens to practice. I've been practicing a lot lately myself, just trying to... Ooh, and he gets hit on his way to that hammer dash. Takes a couple damage there.
Battle of the Dark World enemies that deal extra damage.
Yeah, it starts to get... everything, the deeper you get into the game with the green mail, starts to get more and more painful for Link. And we did see him go through those pegs with an item dash, which is a Japanese 1.0 exclusive glitch, where by hitting Y and A on the same frame to trigger the item and the dash together, you can do some interesting stuff. The hammer dash is sort of the most obvious one. There are more subtle ones like medallion dashes and lamp dashes that are, if you don't know to look for it, they're almost unnoticeable. But the hammer dash is pretty obvious because Link dashes with the hammer out.
Yeah, see, I think Dao got it because it was just an RNG thing. Like, their strategies looked identical, but Dao had bad RNG from that Ropa on that overworld, so just bad luck.
Yeah, there's really not a whole lot you can do if you get that RNG from the Ropa. And I mean, you can specifically go out of your way to counteract that RNG, but it's so uncommon that it's really not worth it to preemptively do different movement because of it.
Satan, are you using a voice modifier?
Yeah, that's my Moogle voice.
That was a good impression.
Very convincing.
Yeah, Moogle.
Oh my god. And so we'll see a spin speed again here on Fox's side to dodge Usain Bolt, the fastest guard in Hyrule. If that one in front of Eastern is the worst guard in Hyrule, this is the best guy. He hits Link probably more than any other guard in the Light World anywhere, I think. So just got to do a couple chores here on our way to Thieves Town, getting the flute, digging it up, and then activating it, which it's a big time save and it gets you all over the world.
I'd say as a whole, as far as taking damage on the overworld here, Thieves Town is not one of those segments where you're overly concerned with taking damage. Because, I mean, worst case scenario, there's a couple different locations where you can refill hearts. There's 2 in the jail cell. There's 1 right before blind. So, 11 hearts available to you is pretty generous for this segment. And these 2 guys, they're both pretty well versed in the RMG all dungeons category, which you have to do this segment with Fighter's Sword. It's much more difficult. These guys should have no issues health-wise here for the most part.
Yeah, and I think probably the scariest thing potentially would be the boss blind, but everyone says that's scripted, and I'm sure they have practiced it enough that they are hopefully going to do it relatively on script so that they're probably not too worried about taking a lot of damage on that screen.
Some pretty gnarly hallways. Let's see how Dao does.
He gets the pixel, but he gets the bad RNG. Nice adjust, though.
Yeah, if you can still get through that room relatively fast, that's skill, because there's just so many moving parts in that room, and you kind of have to understand how they all move to actually get through there cleanly. I don't.
Yeah, neither do I, but it's slowly getting better. I guess it just doesn't seem too common that when you land on that perfect pixel, you do get the good RNG. But it's probably one of the best feelings in the game when that does happen.
It's definitely
it's really
something that separates the mid-tier players from the high-tier ones is if you get that good Hellway pixel, a lot of players will still try to dash through even if the RNG isn't right.
And then get hit and take damage, and then maybe take more damage flailing about. I do that once in a while.
Nice Hellway, Fox. Played it.
So yeah, this dungeon you have to go upstairs and bomb this floor to then bring the maiden into the room to spawn her as the boss. Spoiler alert, she's actually not the maiden that you were looking for. That maiden is in another
Link's
crystal.
about to get played again.
Word has it she's in another castle.
Another crystal. And so we're almost to the blind fight here, heading upstairs on Dao's side. And we'll see if that goes exactly as scripted.
He gets a 552 into blind, which I think is good for like a 704, 705 with this health. Pretty solid segment.
Well, and his gold is a 704, so if that is a pretty solid segment for him. And I don't think anyone's ever gotten a 659 Thieves Town that I'm aware of. So that's still pretty close to like a very near perfect Thieves Town. Okay, yeah, so I guess maybe there is a sub 7 that WQ has. But it's probably pretty close, like a 5.9 or a 5.8, I think. And Fox finishing up blind here as well. So now we got a couple more chores. There's always overworld chores in almost every split in the Dark World. And now we got to go rescue the Smith, get some money, and get our nice sword upgrade. The fact that the Dark Kakariko village, the village of outcasts or whatever, has 2 chests with 300 rupees is very clutch for the speedrun, putting them close together. And it gives you most of the money that you need in the entire speedrun pretty much, except for the Kiki money.
Yeah, really clutch. It's right in the path. So.
Because we'll need 500 for the flippers, which people will get usually in ice before Ice Palace.
No, it seems the local thieves are only interested in running into you and causing you to lose a bomb, an arrow, maybe a couple of rupees here and there.
These are Ganon's thieves, so. Ooh, and we bonked the fence dash. Rough. So yeah, the fence dash, when you enter that screen when you come out of that screen transition, you need to hit left and A on the same frame and then turn up. And must have just been a frame off. And also gets...
that's a game changer.
Yeah. 2 seconds worth of bonking. Okay, so we're entering one of the trollier rooms in the run here on Dao's side, the mummy room. Hopefully it goes well, but I've definitely seen some various ways that this room can go very wrong, and it looks like it's going to be pretty clean. That's always a sigh of relief when the RNG is nice to you.
The spawn of Satan.
So says Fricker himself. Yeah, guys, I'm here.
Yeah, this is Moogle mod.
Okay, so Dao's setting up for the bomb jump here. No problems there. Gets the fire rod. And Fox is entering my room. Let's see if the RNG is nice over here. Yep,
This is fine.
No mummy
You
trolling.
would think that Dao would want the fairy, but it's more beneficial for him to skip it because he doesn't actually want to have sword beams for the back part of Skull Woods. It makes it more difficult to kill some of the enemies, and during the time that the magic is refilling, he's going to recover those hearts with no time loss anyway, so it's actually realistically more beneficial to him time-wise to not take that overworld fairy.
Yeah, and having beams in some of these rooms is just no good. Like, especially Moth. Like, if you hit Moth and you get less than the Tempered Sword damage because beams do less damage, that's going to make that fight longer and just annoying. And there's another item dash.
He's
So
got
we'll,
enough confidence in his Moth fight that he's definitely gonna prefer saving that second or so by not refilling his health.
which I don't think is too surprising at this level to see them do that. And yeah, it doesn't even
Nice
take a single
poke
heart.
dash.
Not even a single heart of damage on Moth. No problem.
So the thing about Mothula is when you hit Mothula and then Mothula then makes contact with a spike, it resets her damage value to 0. And one thing that they can do in order to counteract that when Moth is camping up on top of the spikes is to do a poke dash.
Right, and that's
what Dao
something
did there to do the last hit of damage on Moth.
that's something that's just in this version, I believe. I know they fixed in the GBA port. I think it was even fixed in the English ports, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So that was just literally a mistake.
It's worth mentioning there Fox did a poke dash as well. He's going to mirror to menu to read the RNG. Very good fight.
Yeah, quick Moth. Nice Fox.
It's worth mentioning that Gold Sword does the same damage class as the spikes, so it's not possible to kill Mothula with the Gold Sword in this version.
Right, and that's why it's good that it's patched out. Obviously, people that do randomizers are probably seeing a lot of times where they're ending up fighting Moth with Gold Sword and stuff like that. And so we'll see a quick flute in the screen transition there to set up a small time save in ice, a little bit of a spooky action at a distance that just allows the fire rod to hit the first enemy in Ice Palace a little higher, which we'll see in a couple minutes here.
We got Daobenta enter Zora's Domain. Actually, one of the more difficult overworlds.
Yeah, another very long overworld. I think all of the long ones are pretty challenging, but yeah, this one has a lot of diagonals, and mistakes allow you to, splash into the water and lose time, and there's a lot of pretty narrow spots too, where some of the other long overworlds you can overshoot a little bit and sort of be okay or just nudge. Oh, and he misses the throw there. And bonking into the air, which when I first started running this game, I just thought that this was a swag thing because you had to wait anyway, but this actually sets up the quick warp. It lands Link on the correct pixel that will get him the faster warp back to the light world. And we'll also see Dao with the dash cancel right before the screen transition. Having your sword out for those mosaic screen transitions actually lags it a little bit, so you'll see probably the sword just go back in right as that screen transition. We'll probably see it on the way out too. And Fox does get the quick fish first try, so that makes up a little bit of time. There's still a lot of race left, and they're only about 45 or so seconds apart coming out of Skull Woods.
Anything is still possible.
I think this is a sign of a good player too. When you see Link dash totally in the blue water, like knowing exactly that range where you can get by in the movement on these screens. Oh, and then Fox does splash there a little bit in the water really quick on the way to Zora, but still gets to King Zora about 155 on the split time.
What I'm looking at here is Dao's gold segment of 615.2. There are very few players in the world that can hit a 615 Ice Palace. That's a really, really clean segment.
Well, that looks like that's a PB. It looks like there's a 611 as a gold.
But I mean, even then, my gold is a 616, I believe. That really, to me, says a lot about his skill level in this game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It becomes a thing of a few seconds everywhere, right? It's not like, at this level, it's not necessarily like there's one big trick necessarily that one runner can do that another can't. It really comes down to that movement, which adds up over time, and doing those things, saving a few frames here, but over 500 screens.
Right, it becomes so much a game of micro consistency. If you're saving 2 to 3 seconds per segment over somebody, eventually that's going to add up to 20 or 30 seconds over the course of the run, and it becomes insurmountable at some point.
Right, and on the conveyor room, we'll see Dao takes the intentional damage to line up to do the dash.
Hi, Fox is coming up on a bombable floor. This is honestly one of the most difficult chain of rooms in the game.
Yeah, I think you call it the Ice Gauntlet, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ice Gauntlet.
Yeah, it feels good when this series of rooms goes well, from that bombable floor through the bomb jump.
Yeah, even through the penguin room.
And Cold Stare is always pretty scary. Cold Stare, the puffs do 4 hearts of damage, which, Link doesn't have a lot of health here. He only has 10 total, and with the bomb jump and other stuff going on, you're probably not going into it with full health in most cases. and the falling ice shards do 2 damage. So it can go south really fast. But let's see how it goes for Dao over here. And perfectly executes the double poke strat to get all 6 hits on Cold Stare.
Fox going for a bit of a meme strat with the Ice Palace stair clip.
Is that a 10 frame time save?
Clipping the left side like that pretty much breaks even with the traditional optimal.
I think that's just his normal strat too, because that was in his PB.
Oh yeah.
So in that fight, you'll see the menu to the mirror. I mean, it is the next item you need. A lot of times when you're seeing people switch items, they're using it to read the RNG or read the placement or something on the screen and to just buy themselves time by menuing to the next item that they'll need. And so when you leave Ice Palace, you immediately need to mirror to then go flute and go fly away. So using that in the Cold Stare fight just kind of gives you a moment to pause and see what you did a little bit.
And I really like what Dao did with that menu there, where he changed to mirror as he was dropping down for the initial spin to move the Cold Stare puffs into the top right corner.
Yeah, if you're going for that double poke strat, the lineup really matters because you need to land the Cold Stare puffs after the spin in the right spot so you have enough room to do both pokes and then get the double spin the next spin after. So we're a little under a minute apart coming out to Ice Palace.
Looks like Fox is taking a different path to go up and get Ether. This is his second Death Mountain climb.
Yeah, and this is where I think we'll see a little bit of a routing difference here. I believe we're going to see Dao get Ether and Ice Rod in Mire. Which is actually the fastest place to get Ether for sure because of sword climbing, which is probably what we'll see, especially on that long staircase. But because of Mire 2 and how much faster it is with full hearts, a lot of runners just get it in Swamp. And we see a couple hits taken there in this room by Dao.
It's so nice to not have to deal with boulder RNG. In the Mire segment, you guarantee that you go into the beginning of Mire with full health. And that's really a big factor of it, too, is the fact that you take so much intentional damage in Mire. I think you take like 9 or 10 hearts of intentional damage in Mire.
Yeah, and with no real way to recover it, if you just get slogged on Death Mountain, that could be pretty dangerous. There's not a lot of places to like pick up extra hearts to recover. These players are running without powder. So in terms of recovery and the Vitreous fight, of course, they're going to take a lot of intentional damage too. So to do it fast.
The nice thing as far as that goes too is that Mire is one of the lower skill cap segments in Dark World. It's not a very difficult segment per se, but there's less room for error than most other segments just because if you take all of that intended damage and then touch one of the eyeballs at the end, it's game over.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the next split. Swamp is a very trolly split. I think when people are just starting out with the speedrun, it seems okay because you're actually doing it a lot later than intended. So you have a better sword than you would normally have playing it casually. You have a lot more hearts than you'd have playing it casually. So it's not a place starting out that people die. but it's a place where you can lose a lot of time because there's just a lot of places you can get hit and like have precise movement and tons of RNGs to deal with and learn. And it almost like how good these players are playing Swamp is like almost so difficult to perceive because it just seems like nothing bad happens and everything's just pretty plain and simple, but that's not what's going on at all right there.
Yeah, this is one of those things I learned much later on in my progression of the game, is that, surprisingly, Swamp is one of those segments that gets ignored until very late in your progression in the game. It's right up there next to like Turtle Rock, GT, and Ganon in the last segments to really get fully optimized as you progress through the skill levels.
But that I think makes a lot of sense because, when you're starting out, one of the big ways to save time is not dying, not having catastrophes. And Swamp is just not a place where those happen. So it's really once you start looking close at like all the segments and how much time am I losing here? How much time am I losing here? In this split, in this room, that's when I think, people are going to start to take a closer look at their swamps and be like, oh my gosh, I am like losing like over a minute here.
Mm-hmm. It's surprisingly difficult to not lose 10 seconds in Swamp, especially considering Zero Cycle Argus is not only one of the most important tricks in the game, but also one of the most difficult.
What's the time save between a 0 and a 1 cycle?
It's about 5 to 6 seconds, depending on the speed of the Argus movements you get.
Yeah, not as only is it just sort of a difficult thing to do, which we're about to hopefully see it here from Dao, because you have to hold your sword out, do an item dash, and then also time repeated Y presses to not drop your sword. But you also have to sort of move Link around in a way that he's not going to miss a puff or have a problem. And it looks like he missed the Zero Cycle. It looks like he got them all really fast, but the fact that Argus is there puffing around waiting, he basically goes through his animation of having the puffs spin out, even though there are no puffs. So he probably just barely missed that, which is unfortunate, but that happens.
Yeah,
that's the game.
If you get slow enough Argus walks, you can still clutch it out, even if you make a mistake. Unfortunately, that is not the case today.
That's wild. It looked really fast. I've never attempted a 0 cycle, but I feel like it's one of the hardest strats to learn in the game, just based off of what I've heard from good speedrunners.
And the Swamp Crystal Maiden is the one that talks the longest, which, if you're on pace at the, this deep into the game, you really just wish it would go a little bit faster.
So Dao getting a 643 Swamp Palace. This will equate to about... you had 51 seconds for Ether, so... Or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that'll be like 744 Swamp Palace by Fox's timing.
Yeah, we'll really see how far separated they are when we enter Turtle Rock. And it looks like Fox does get the 0 cycle. And here's that sword climbing. This is that's the reason that we're electing to get Ether and Meyer here. And it looks like getting through Death Mountain with no damage too, so that it always feels like a little bit of a risk, but works for him here.
Fox having a very, very good segment overall, and only saving like 4 seconds or so over Dao's Swamp Palace. That's how tight this gameplay is.
And then we'll see the Ice Rod get on Dao's side here. And this is, this is one of those things where every room in the game could troll you in different ways pretty much, except for like maybe the rooms that you just dash straight through and that's it. But yeah, there can be bush guards there and RNG that can do terrible things, and I'm really glad that none of them happened for Dao here. So we'll see
All right,
Fox head
so-
towards Meyer.
Both players going into the Meyer overworld area. FoxLisk is at a deficit of about 37 seconds right now due to lack of the ice rod. So that's going to come back to get him later. It's not as close as it looks.
And, you know, as they warp in, they'll both set up to do Spooky here, which is one of the newer time saves in the run. That one was discovered in May 2018. And it allows us to use the fire rod in the basement here to flip a bunch of crystal switches and not have to, you know, bomb a wall and run up, you know, way up on one screen. And it saves about 13 seconds, I think.
We'll see if Dao makes a play for a safety bomb here since he has a bit of a time advantage. If you miss the spooky action glitch and have no bombs, it's pretty much game over.
Yeah, that
Typically,
could
this
be
isn't a
interesting.
concern in normal PB attempts, but in this special case,
Right,
Yeah, that's
in this
interesting.
race setting. Because if he's going for a PB and he misses, you know, at a 124.01, if he misses Spooky, it's over anyway. It didn't matter. But here in a race, you know, you still want to play to win.
looks like he's gaming today.
Not going for it, yeah.
It's a pretty straightforward trick. You make it like 99% of the time, so...
One of the only real cutscenes in the game where you get to wait for 20-some seconds. There aren't a lot of those breaks in the game. Even the crystal cutscenes, you're constantly mashing or whatever. So this is the one time where you can take a breath before you have to go through the last 20 minutes of the game, which is mostly some of the hardest parts of the game, really.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the big deterrents to runners of this game is it's just 90 minutes of zero breaks in the action.
And Dao gets the fire bar, so I won't go for Spark Gamble on the bottom there.
Yeah, I feel like it really took a long time to build up endurance to play this game for, well, when first starting out, it was like you had to play it for 2 hours straight.
Yeah, it
I
does
was-
feel a little bit easier the faster your run gets, but then you also like reset more sometimes or whatever too, so it balances out, I guess.
And the better you get, the more attention you have to pay to everything too.
So Dao about to head into the basement, so we'll see if the no safety bomb risk pays off. And Fox does get the spooky setup, but has to do it again because he knocks the block off screen.
I think it's possible he's not going to have enough magic for Spooky 3, so he's going to have to go up to the top of the room and hit the switch manually, and that's going to cost him some precious time because he's already behind in the game.
Yeah,
This is going to cost him another 2 seconds here to hit this switch manually, where, as you see, Dao has actually gotten ahead in the restream and still has that 37-second advantage.
and this is, I think, a sign of kind of top players here. They're both going into Meyer or into the boss Vitreous with the same amount of hearts. So they, you know, it played pretty consistently at this level.
Never in doubt.
No.
I wouldn't doubt him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you just got to play like it's not going to go wrong. That's part of how you get fast times, right? You play like you're gonna make the tricks, and you know, sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. But on this level, most tricks in most rooms are gonna work out for them.
Confidence is just so key. Once you pass a certain skill level, you have to believe that you can hit it and just trust your muscles to do the things that you've trained for.
It really helps you. I think it forces you to get better too, you know, because you're going to mess up runs and then you practice those rooms where you mess up. And then you just, if you can rely on those, I think it can be something where you won't necessarily grind out this room or this boss. You're like, well, I used a fairy, I lost a little bit of time, but it's fine. And let's see how the Dead Rocks are going to treat everyone today. This is maybe one of the trolliest RNG places in the run, really, because these Dead Rocks can block you, and if they do, in depending on where, you're mostly just SOL. It's just wait it out or screen transition or something.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like this is earlier than Aghanim because you actually have to react and make quick decisions to Dead Rocks.
Oh, another hit
Aghanim's
taken there.
obviously out of your control, and
Yeah, Aghanim, you can't really worry about it. I mean, it sucks when you're going for these kind of times, but it just, like, whatever happens, you can't do anything about it. But Dead Rocks, you can try and learn how they move and react to them even better and practice those rooms. And there is a degree of control which you have over it, even though sometimes it just can really troll you.
If there's any one rule I've learned, it's never trust a Dead Rock. If you ever have the opportunity to slash one, do it every single time.
yeah, like what Fox is doing.
Every
Yeah,
time.
and that's the nice thing about still having sword beams up there, is you can hit it from a distance too, so it doesn't, because that rock pickup takes a while, and they will come over and get you sometimes. No, I think the roller room is actually one of the hardest movement rooms in the game, especially when you're trying to do that movement out of it. You have to really have a good tight up movement to get to that key in order to get back out safely. I know a lot of people can do it, but it's not easy. But then he does it, takes the intentional damage, and dashes right back out. And then Chomps is another trolley room in the game. Turtle Rock has a lot of those, and it's brutal because of the amount of damage that you take. Pretty much everything in here does like 4 hearts of damage.
That's definitely one of the most hated rooms in the entire speedrun.
One thing that blows my mind that I just recently learned, pay close attention to where the chains are attached to the blocks when Fox goes into chain chomps. The chains are attached to the right side of the blocks, which means the right side of the chain chomp is actually closer to the crystal switch. So it's more favorable to get an opening on the left side.
But with Chomps, you take what you can get, and we will see him go right side. And take a hit as well. And have to do a little bit of dodging. But we lived through it, and I didn't see, did he get the fairy before this room, or does he do the fairy?
He's down 7 hearts, so I would assume with that, that's the roller and 1 chomp hit. So he's probably do a fairy then.
Yeah, probably a good thing.
Google is a confirmed Zelda genius.
Yeah, so the Pokies are in this same prize pack where we skipped the fairies way earlier in the run in Aghanim's Tower. And where they drop it is kind of up in the air. They still have a 50-50 drop rate. You could still not get the fairy. But it's pretty likely that one of these 3 Poke rooms where you kill them where you kill all these pokies is going to drop 1 if you're due the fairy in the prize pack. But I'm sure there's probably plenty of people who have played this that didn't get one that are salty about some run that happened, because everything happens in this game, whether you like it or not.
It's an issue that Fox spent a lot of Samaria blocks in chain chomps because you already don't have enough magic to get through the dungeon. So hopefully we see a full magic drop here from Fox, and that's going to do it.
Yeah, probably a little relieved to see that.
It's so convenient that it just happens to be the next thing in the prize pack after the fairy.
Oh, a little bit of a bonk on laser skip for Dao, but still gets through that room cleanly. And Fox going into Crystal Roller with beams, which makes it a lot nicer. That's another really tight movement room where if you can't do the movement as tight as it needs to and you're trying to do that strat, it can be tough. So this is kind of the home stretch here, and we'll see the backdoor Trinex. Pretty textbook so far for Dao, going in behind him so you can get those hits in faster and not have to deal with the 2 cycle with the big head coming out. A little faster and a little safer too if they don't spew ice all over the floor. But he does take a hit from the big head there.
I appreciate Dao going into the shell for the memes. I didn't realize that the hitbox for Trinex doesn't spawn until after the shell disappears. Thanks for showing that off.
Gotta pull out some memes for the race, right? And so finally, after all these Crystal Maidens, we find Zelda's in this final crystal, which is conveniently located right next to Ganon's tower, where we'll go next. And Fox just finishing up Trinex here, so they're, it's probably not too far apart where if one room went wrong or something like that, but there is a pretty sizable lead for Dao here because this crystal cutscene is 52 seconds?
47, but it's like Fox said, the gap is about 45, 46 seconds right now. So I mean, of course, it's always too early to call it because any number of things
Absolutely,
can happen.
Yeah. That's definitely true, especially here. I find Turtle Rock to be more dangerous than Ganon's Tower, but it's really easy to lose a lot of time in Ganon's Tower, and then Ganon himself is obviously can be a big troll as well.
Yeah, the runners have done great so far. There's really been no disasters. Good luck, GT, guys.
Yeah, Fox is playing within about 45 seconds of his 1-2-4 goal time, so this is, not the cleanest run he's ever done, but it's been really, really tight so far. No major disasters. I'd be really, really happy with this run.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's looking pretty nice.
He's playing really well for his skill level, and that counts for a lot.
And it's, of course, different in a race setting, too. And that's the thing about, Ganon. When you're in a race setting or you're on PB pace, and you just have to finish that last thing, nerves can definitely set in. So it's never over till you get to the Triforce room. So Ganon's Tower features refights of all the Light World bosses, and we're seeing Dao lose some bombs here to try and save a menu later on. or get a better menu. And so this Ice Armos refight, that's the first of the Light World boss refights, and just putting it on ice actually can make it quite a bit more difficult, but Dao makes it look pretty easy.
You know, I'm really glad they didn't put Moldorm 2 on ice. Come to think of it.
Oh yeah, if you had to dodge him and he could knock you
Think
off.
about that for a second.
Imagine how sadistic.
Oh no.
I mean, I think Moldorm 2 is the least sadistic of the refights. It's yeah, that's the least trolly because it's actually a bigger platform. There's no middle hole, and you have a much stronger sword.
We got FoxLisk recovering from his arrows.
Oh, you hate to see the Red Knight, and I believe when you take this long in this room too, that's going to change Ganon's bat pattern later.
I think he got out of there fast enough to avoid changing the arc variable on the bats. So
Do you know
the
how
thing
long
with
that is?
bats is it uses the same variable for rotation stored in memory that the Armos Knights use for their rotation. So if you spend too long in there, it messes up the given bat pattern for the Ganon fight. But I know it's possible to get the red mail without changing the pattern, so I think he should be fine.
He did also run out of arrows though too, so it took even longer than just pumping 3 arrows into that the red one. And we're at the Lamo 2 refight here, and that is a 1 cycle. You like to see that. No short hops on this side for Dao.
Worst case scenario for Fox, you just anticipate the worst and be ready to tank a 4-heart hit in Ganon if you need to.
Alright, Fox coming in on Gauntlet. Another one of the worst combination of rooms in a row in the game.
And Dao coming up on Torches 1, which is deceptively hard. Oh, and he's not going to be able to get it, I don't think. Because he did stumble a little bit that movement. So gets hit by the firebar twice. It's a really tight room. I mean, in order to get a time that's, 13 seconds or less, you're talking about 20 some different inputs with the D-pad and the picking up the pots and the torch presses. So it's a lot really fast and really precisely. Like your lineups on all of those things matter, but he makes it look simple. And we get a
Nice Rainbow 2 pattern for Fox, able to get the 1 cycle.
Yep, so 1 cycles for both.
Dao's making pretty good time on the segment. And his health situation is looking quite good, so barring anything short of a fall to Ganon, it's his race to lose at this point.
Yeah. This should be, you would think, a lot of health for him going into Ganon. And we'll see how he does on Aga 2. Aga 2 is a little less trolly than Aga 1 because you can always get hits on him, but he can still blue ball you on the 2nd and 4th cycles, and that can rob you of a 2 cycle if you had the lineups and skill to get it. So we're already at 2 here.
That was really well played.
There's just a lot going on with Aga 2. I mean, the geometry of the way that the balls bounce and trying to deflect them all back into it. Some of the patterns that you can get and like trying to get a lot of hits where you can even like take intentional damage to have the ball go through you so you can hit it straight into him.
Yeah, Aga 2's rough. Learning it was kind of like You just have to go in and figure it out and learn the physics.
Was that a 4 cycle for him? So he lost a little bit of time in Ganon's tower. He's about a minute behind his PB here, coming into Ganon. And Fox entering Aga 2.
Nice setup.
So, yeah, he did really well on the setup, but you see his response in chat, he's down to less than 4 hearts remaining. So if he doesn't get a favorable bat pattern in Ganon, these bats do 4 hearts of damage, and if they start going in random directions, this could be very unfortunate. So hopefully he gets a recognizable pattern.
That Ice Armos mishap could be dangerous if the bats just go different than you practice them. So hopefully they won't, because one hit will do him in here. So let's see what happens. They're both on Ganon at the same time. Oh, and Fox does take that hit to Ganon. So he'll restart the fight and come back in. You hate to see it.
Everything else aside, Fox on pace for a mid 126 is quite good for his skill level.
Yeah, not every run's going to be a PB, but this, especially when you get this deep down there, only being a minute behind is still, pretty respectable. And Dow finishing with a 125.05.
GG's Dow. I believe this is the first race for both of them in their groups.
Fox just finishing up phase 4 Ganon here. I have to spin him with the Tempered Sword. That's something that was discovered around 2008. So we've been having people do Tempered Ganon for about 12 years now. But in theory, the run requires you to have the silver arrows, and probably assumes that you would have the gold sword. But it changes the fight quite a bit. And Fox finishing up here. Pretty good run for Fox too, minus that Ganon death. GG to the runners.
I do have confirmation.
Showing for FoxLisk to be plus 56 on PB with 2 blue balls and a Ganon death. That's a really tight run overall.
That's really nice. The Ganon death alone is what, like 40 seconds maybe? Maybe it was less than that, because he died early-ish.
I wanted to say I do have confirmation that both the runners will be joining us for an interview. We're just taking a small break right now.
A well-deserved break.
Yep. Just waiting for him to get into the voice call.
Yeah, it was a pretty close race the entire time, and yeah, really impressive.
Good day.
Was a okay run. I appreciate the comms. It helps a lot to stay calm when I can, watch and listen a little bit more and not have to focus entirely on the game. So.
Yeah. And no fear, not grabbing that bomb in Mire, even with the lead.
I think I've missed Spooky once ever.
Nice.
So, yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I figured that it probably would feel pretty automatic for you, but sometimes you wonder, if you're in a race and and you're watching and you do you play it a little bit more conservatively or not? It just depends, and I think people do it differently.
I didn't even consider it until I heard you talking about it.
And I didn't really think about it till chat came up. I was like, well, he's got the ice rod, so what does he need a bomb for?
GG's, Dao. This is exactly what I predicted was going to happen.
GG's, Fox.
The good news for me is that you cut my PB, so I wasn't going to win, even if I had a better run, in all likelihood.
But I mean, you could 124 any day, so
Yeah, still.
Yeah,
Definitely
and
earned it.
on your end, you're running against 124 splits, so that's obviously the goal for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, I think this is my PB. Yeah. My real PB is a 125-20.
Yeah, GG's
so
Fox. How do you feel about the race, or about your run in particular?
I mean, it was mostly good. I mean, there were a couple things. Pod was a disaster, and then forgetting that I needed arrows for Ice Orbos were the two really big things. There was lots of
Yeah,
swamp
yeah.
everywhere, but, Gold Swamp, take those.
Yeah. Gold Swamp is really nice.
sick. I don't know. I had some really weird RNGs that I hadn't seen before, so I'm just glad it was being restreamed, or else it probably would have tilted a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
like
could
how
really
you
happen.
reacted to the RNG in the switch room and swamp with that Bari that was like just right next to you. I've never seen a reaction like that.
Swamp was wild. I don't know what was happening there.
Swamp is often wild, though, isn't it?
Within reason. I mean, you usually get like one room or two rooms where RNG just there's nothing you can do about it, but that's a little bit different from the RNG is like 1 in a million.
Right. But it is a pretty long dungeon, and there are a lot of rooms, so you never know which one it's going to hit you in.
No, I mean we have ideas, but
Sure,
you get
sure.
lucky and you get unlucky, so it's whatever.
And you practice many of the RNGs and stuff, but I assume that there's some degree of this even at the level that you two are at, where there's still something that surprises you every so often that you feel like you've never seen before in rooms that you've done a million times, right?
Yeah, occasionally.
Still have
Yeah,
a
it gets
sometimes.
it gets less frequent, but
For the most part, like rooms have a set amount of RNG that you have to deal with. So, I have whatever is a split say, almost 600 attempts. I've seen most splits that many times, so it's like
right, and probably practicing them on their own and screen grinding and all that stuff. Yeah.
There's this
In
funny
those
catch.
instances, me personally, I think it has more shock value when you've seen the same room 1,000 or 2,000 times and you've watched other people do the speed run hundreds of times, and now you're seeing this weird RNG for the first time and you don't know how to respond to it. I think it has more shock value in that case.
yeah, I agree with that.
It's true. You start to think you know what the game is capable of, and when it surprises you, it's really scary.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? It's that a lot more shocking than when you're learning and you're just like everything seems new and that's constantly happening versus the millions of times that you've seen it and then seeing something that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that was a great race.
Enjoyed restreaming. I always like restreaming vanilla A Link to the Past races. The community is super chill. Like I've noticed that the community is awesome. Y'all are just so good. Seeing y'all in chat.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.
Probably
Zizar always appreciates having a wonderful community on stream.
Yeah, thanks for setting up this awesome restream and having us tonight.
Problem.
Yeah, and thanks to the commentators for stepping up to do commentary as well. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we had a fun time.
Oh, before we head out, there's one minor thing that I do want to say here quickly. That is, you think this match was really late, right? No, we got one more race on ZSR for you later today. We've got a Zelda to Randomizer max random tournament match, which should be starting. And let me just double check. That should be starting in about 30 minutes on this channel, actually. So if you like your randomizer content, just stay on here. But in the meantime, I'm gonna send you over to another A Link to the Past runner. But yeah, it was an awesome race. Enjoyed it a lot. enjoyed hearing the boss music again. For those who remember the RNG AD tournament, I always like to bump up the game audio during the boss music because I'm a huge fan of that boss theme, even though it's a very short loop. May or may not have done that this time again, maybe. Don't snitch on Tress to me. Don't snitch. Yeah, we'll send you all over, and if there's any final words you have, then we can enter restream on there.
Oh, just thanks for everything.
Yep, thanks,
Yeah,
and GG's
thanks
again.
to Blaine for setting up the tournament. And a lot of good races to come, so
Oh yeah, let me
good
check.
luck to everybody.
Let me check when the next race stream is before we head out here completely. So, next, A Link to the Past NMG tournament race will be on... Well, tomorrow, basically. Yeah, tomorrow. So it will be Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, or 1 a.m. UTC on Saturday. So, roughly, basically 2 hours earlier start time than today. And that will be Casnout versus OS 28 in Group F. So, should also be an awesome race. I remember Casnout from the RMG tournament. But yeah, with that said, I think everything has been said. Anything else?
I think we're good.
Yes,
You guys
no?
have an awesome night.
See y'all.
All right.
Bye.